just like that, October has begun. What is up, Waf? Happy Monday, sir. How are you doing? How was the apple picking?
I think I was having some issue with my AirPods, like bouncing between devices. So I think I got it sorted out here. So I missed
Heck yeah.
I missed your opening a little bit. I know you were mentioning October. I did catch that part, and it looks like October. Maybe it's a week late, but it's finally probably here. I think.
That's right. I think it is a little bit late, but we are here nonetheless in October. And yeah, it feels like the real deal. How have you been celebrating your October? I heard you did some apple picking this weekend.
Yeah, just touching grass as usual, doing some picking, pumpkin picking, hay rides and pony rides and just all that good old fashioned family stuff. But now, Monday, it's ready to lock in, get this crypto, get this Bitcoin and talk about everything, Bitcoin related. We got a lot of things that happened over the past 7 days, even with the Bitcoin price being essentially stagnant. Um, you got runes really kind of taking the lead over the past 7 days. And some of the notable ones have been really ripping. Um, I think overall we're seeing sort of like a bullish vibe out there, and there's this bullish indicators everywhere. Seeing more liquidity kind of entering the ecosystem. Um, I think Ordinals have been kind of holding their gains from a few weeks ago and just kind of holding steady. But like right now, the focus seems to be on runes.
Yeah, great assessment there, Waf. I totally agree with you. Runes have been absolutely crushing. We got to wait for AI to get in here to talk about sort of the rinse and repeat strategy because it seems like the top ordinal collections, man, they just keep giving up $1,200 gains. It's like clockwork. Anytime node monkeys or puppets retest this point 0.1 area or 0.1415 in the case of node monkeys, they will just shoot up 0.03. So other than that, though, definitely runes with massive gains. We have some stuff cruising towards all-time highs. I think Billion Dollar Cat is at its all-time high. Is that correct?
No, actually, it's currently sitting at like 97 sats, so its all-time high is 120 sats.
Okay, so very close, about 25 to 30% off. But definitely in the ballpark. I was looking at the chart last night and just saw that like it was peaking up very close to its previous all-time high that it just tapped. So we're getting close. And then I know some notable leaders like Dog Go to the Moon and Pups are still about 50% off their all-time high, but they have just been absolutely crushing it over the past week. And you could just tell based on the audience and the faces showing up for this episode. I think people can feel it that things are heating up.
Dude, I had some show notes from like a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about Billion Dollar Cat at 30 sats, right? I was like, it's 4x from its all-time high 2 weeks ago. And then last week we were talking about it at 60 sats, and now we're talking about it at 97 sats. So basically from 30 to 97 in literally 2 weeks. And 20% away from its all-time high. And once it hits that, I think we see the real breakout. So I think it's kind of looking really juicy for Billion Dollar Cat right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, we've talked about the dynamics so many times where sometimes runes lead, sometimes ordinals lead. But if Bitcoin can break out of its all time high and some of these other rune collections can follow suit, I definitely would start to see some hype coming into ordinals. We've seen some really consistent volume over the top couple of collections. Like I think we're seeing close to 10 Bitcoin on puppets pretty much daily. So that really bodes well just for the ecosystem heating back up. But definitely on runes, there have been some absolutely massive gains there. So I wanted to start with a dive in on that. And then, of course, we have this HBO documentary we're going to have to touch on that's coming out Wednesday. So definitely want to make sure that we have a little bit of a conversation about that. But yeah, let's kick it off with runes, Waf. I know you're a firm billion dollar cap believer. I know you are a big proponent of Doggo to the Moon. But what have you been trading over the past week or so since we last met and things started heating up with runes? Any new holds, anything that you have still long-term conviction on? What should our audience be focusing on coming days and weeks here?
All right, so generally speaking, portfolio is pretty much unchanged. I have been like looking for some hot mints. The latest one I minted, which I reached out to you yesterday on, was the Why Lying For. It seems to be some type of Bitcoin wizard meme where like I think they're kind of like joking on Maven's bot about him actually migrating the BRC20 wizard into Magic Internet Money. So the joke is it's like why you're lying. So they created this rune why lying for. It's down 55% today. So it has some memeability. So I kind of minted that, but outside of that, I just been holding. But looking at the top tier, which I consider basically Pop's billion dollar dog, and RSIC. I think those are probably like the top four. RSIC's like really lagging those other three, and and also the RSIC dev has been very quiet on X. So I'm looking at that one as the next play. I think every other one of these runes has made a move up, and this one hasn't done anything really. I mean, it's up a little bit, but not compared to the gains that these other runes have seen. Like just even over the past 7 days, Pops is up over 100%. Billion Dollar Cat's up like 50%, and RSIC's like down 4.5%. So I just think RSIC, and recall its all time high was probably like 23 sats. So you got a good 4 or 5x from this point to its all time high. So I just could see this one catching a bid. I know a lot of I'm gonna call it whales that keep low profiles have huge bags of RSIC. So this is the one I would get into. Not financial advice.
No, I love that, dude. I think that's a great call because I mean we really see in crypto a lot just lagging indicators or lagging plays. Though definitely Arctic used to be. I would consider it one of the big three runes that really led the charge when runes were launched. There's just a ton of hype and speculation. You know, they really launched the pre rune into rune meta. So it'll be interesting to see. And you know, we do know that R6 team has historically under promised and over delivered. So I could really see that being the kind of thing that just shoots up 300% on the day. To your point, NFA, you know, but in terms of things to speculate on, there's certainly a pretty good team to focus on just because they've consistently delivered without promising anything. So I do think if they are able to deliver something, people will really push that price up given this market. And we've seen it with all these different rune collections. You know, I'm just looking at runes on Magic Eden. There's so many blasts from the past of just a couple months ago that projects I thought were potentially just dead. And now they're coming back and they're up like 300% on the week. It's crazy. You know, stuff like Mr. Yen, Japanese businessmen, that was so down from its all time high. I think a few weeks ago, it was maybe at 500K market cap. It's back to over 3 million. Like that happened in no time at all. So just a lot of these collections where there was kind of a lull or a break there, it seems like people are going to continue to go back to those collections that used to be hot and are just waiting for the next one to pop off. So I love the shout out on Arctic.
Yeah, there's a ton of the ones like you're talking about, like Waddle Waddle Pengu, Psycho Hamster, Wanko Manko Runes. Like these are all up 70, 80, 90, 100% over the last 7 days. The liquidity in these are not as big as I would say like these other collections that we talk about, but there's enough there that like if you want to make a trade there's enough to like get in and get out, I would say. And I had posted this chart in VC chat. This is like the runes volume um over like the last 6 months. So you can see like just October, like the volume tick, it's circled in yellow. I mean, like just that volume alone has caused these gains. Like, what happens if we get back to that May and June volume, right? So this is just the beginning, I think. So definitely gets me excited knowing that the volume's coming back, and this is literally at the beginning.
Yeah, and I mean, it really mimics pretty closely some of the volume charts that you see for shitcoins. So, you know, we talked last week about how Mudang sort of led this meme cycle that we had and just brought a lot of interest back into meme tokens. If you look at the volume on that chart where it really just launched up to 100 mil, it's just a substantial volume uptick that goes along with that. And then just a lot of other notable meme coins that are going on in the space have that big volume uptick before the massive send, so to speak. So, you know, they're just indicators. They're not 100% effective. That's not to say that it's guaranteed to go up higher. but it's certainly indicative of some increased interest in the runes atmosphere, which is always the first step to a nice little bull run. But love your call out on the tickers that you mentioned. Psycho Hamster, definitely one I'm picking myself for letting go of. That was one that I was really bullish on around the 2 million market cap. I think Psycho Hamster is at its all-time high or getting close to it. It might have been 10 mil at one point. I'm not as familiar with the charts as I used to be, but I'm definitely trying to get back up to speed. But if you were just someone who's looking to get in now after we have a little bit of heat, would you be looking at some of the top collections and go for maybe like a 2x or some smaller gains, or would you be waiting for some of the newer stuff or some of the smaller cap and go for that 5 10x so common in crypto?
I mean, it's a hard call to say. I mean, I kind of like, and it's gonna sound funny, like we're already so far out there on the risk curve, like that I feel like even these top runes are already kind of risky enough, in my opinion. Yeah, you could definitely make the 100x or the 200x on a smaller one, and I would dabble with that. But if you're just gonna like hold a position, I'd put it in like a more of a top tier rune coin. But if you're just trading, yeah, there's nothing wrong with trading with like your funds allocated for that purpose.
Yeah, sound advice as always. There is one more ticker I did want to throw out, and it's going to tie us in very nicely into the HBO doc. But this Sasha, the Bitcoin cat, we had a few MVHQ members who were talking about that and calling it out. I think I saw it on Twitter via Jasmine. But essentially, on October 9th, so in 2 days, HBO is going to be releasing a documentary that is supposed to pin down the best speculation that we have yet as to who Satoshi is, the founder of Bitcoin and the founder of crypto for that matter. And a lot of the speculation at the front of the week was for this guy, Len Sassaman, who is no longer with us. But I know that his cat, at least per what people sleuthed online, was named Sasha. So this coin was just ripping over the weekend. Think I got in around 1.2 million. At one point, it reached $3 million market cap, and as of today, it is back down to sub 1 million. And I think a lot of this coincides with people who are checking the poly market price. So, for those unfamiliar, poly market basically is futures for real life events and outcomes. So he was like 40% sure the focus of the HBO documentary, and people saying that the HBO doc was going to claim that he was actually Satoshi, but those odds have skewed a lot lower since then. So as of this morning, the odds are about 20% on Poly Market. And at the same time that that happened, the Sasha the Cat coin really adjusted. It went from 170 sats to now about 69 sats. So decreased by about 66% there. I think there might be a play there, Waf, honestly. I had my leftover bag. I sold half of my Sasha, went to list it, and then thought, you know what? Honestly, maybe I just buy a little bit more and just try to left curve it a little bit. The main FUD that I saw on Polymarket in the comment sections where people were saying, "Oh well, Satoshi sent emails after Len died, so there's no way it was him." But I did a little sleuthing of my own, and Satoshi's last email communication was in, I believe, April of 2011, and then Len died in July of that year. So it's still possible just based on that timeline of events. A lot of speculation based on that, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of volatility when the stock comes out. But I did want to throw Sasha there on the rune ticker list.
Yes, I believe like Len Sossaman, I think at one point on Poly Market, he was as high as maybe what, 60% as the person that's going to be identified as Satoshi Nakamoto. That's Sasha the Bitcoin cat. I missed that. Like I wasn't really up on the narrative when it first came out. So I know people did really, really, really well on that. Um, and just to correct one point, the documentary is actually tomorrow on the 8th, not the 9th, just so you don't miss it when it first airs. I do think it's going to bring more attention to Bitcoin. Like, wouldn't it be surprising if the following day there's a lot of more searches, on Google, on Bitcoin and stuff like that. Just kind of gets it out there to more of the mainstream. There was a couple of, I want to say, funny posts out there today with people saying, "Oh, I think they're going to name Magic Internet Money on the documentary too," because the Magic Internet Money, that meme goes all the way back to those Bitcoin Talk dot .org forum days, and that's where Satoshi used to chat with these people. So you never know. We might get a magic internet money shout out in the documentary tomorrow. That could be the Giga Brain play of the day there.
That would absolutely be nuts. And dude, appreciate the correction there on the date. I just realized the date I was quoting was from a article based in Europe. So yeah, absolutely wrong time zone on my end. So tomorrow the doc's coming out. I know I'm going to be clearing my schedule and watching that ASAP. But I think there's definitely the play is if you don't have HBO, start a free trial. That's not to shill HBO, but I think watching that documentary the second it comes out is going to give you a lot of good plays in the market. I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of stuff that is pumping up. I mean, even if you want to just fast forward to the very end of the doc when it comes out and see who they're naming as Satoshi, definitely a bit of a buzzkill for your viewing experience. But think about how big an edge you're going to have over the markets in terms of these shitcoins that are going to come out, right? If it's not Len Sassaman, it'll be some other person. And within 30 seconds, there will be a token on Dex tools or Dex screener for you to trade. So there's definitely going to be a play regarding that documentary tomorrow.
Oh, for sure. Whether it's on Ethereum, Solana, or even Bitcoin, where you'll have a little bit more time, right, to mint. But they're gonna all be there, and I guess like the first one, the best one, is gonna win. I did notice they had some of the other I guess candidates for Satoshi Nakamoto. There's some runes for them, and they were minting earlier. I think there was one called something Adam. I can't remember the name. I don't know if you've seen that one. Adam Back Tears. I think he's like another one of the candidates to be potentially named as Satoshi.
Yeah, I saw that on Polymarket. There's definitely a lot. Len was the only one that actually did a little bit of digging in just because he was the sort of name that was being thrown around for the past couple of days. And I know today is really when they notably said, oh, it's probably not him. But it'll be interesting to see. You know, we've definitely seen Polymarkets similar to this before where the market sometimes gets it wrong. I know specifically for Kamala's VP, it was like nine or not 90, it was like 60% that it was going to be Roy Cooper at one point, and then it was really sure it was going to be Senator Mark, I forget his last name, but he was the astronaut guy, and then it just completely changed to Tim Walz. So I don't think Polymarket's necessarily the best indicator as what the doc will or won't say. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think when it was supposed to be this Len Sassaman, there was a bullish sentiment regarding that because Len is no longer alive. So I think with that, there was sort of the, you know, case closed that Bitcoin's not going anywhere because Satoshi still has billions of Bitcoin sitting in his wallet, billions of dollars, sorry. Um, so I think for a lot of people, that was sort of just a nice, okay, that's good that the book is closed on that. I am curious to see if they name someone who's still alive, what impact that might have on Bitcoin's potential outlook. And you know, me personally, I'd rather they just never find out. I think it's cool to just keep him as Satoshi, but I guess you know, curiosity will lead us to dive deeper. So it'll be interesting to see what they say.
Oh, completely agree with that. Like, if it winds up him being him, or if they don't name someone at all, I guess I'm okay with that. Even if they do name him, it doesn't really prove anything. But I did kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit, and I'm gonna post this thing that I saw on X. Apparently, someone tried to do like a Freedom of Information Act request on Len Sossaman, and they got denied that information. And I don't know if this is like a troll or if this is for real or whatever, but he might have had links if he really was Satoshi, like he might have had links to to the government, to the CIA and stuff. And just going back to his, I guess, career, he did work on like literally like the foundation of the internet. Like he worked on TCP/IP protocol. So I don't know if he's not Satoshi, he could be an interesting candidate to be Satoshi. Um, so regardless, it's gonna bring some type of interest nonetheless. So I am excited to see it. And if one day if he really is Satoshi, we got a couple of bullish things in our favor. There's a million Bitcoin that are locked and that'll never move hands, right? If he really was Satoshi. And also just the fact that there's no one that the government could go after, and like because if the person is dead, it's truly decentralized. There's no one you could kind of like blame, for creating an application or a piece of software, like the way they went after other developers, right? They went after the Telegram guy. He's arrested, right? They got the guy who did what's that disperse app, the Tornado, right? Tornado Cash. So in that regard, I'm kind of happy he's like not around, because like I don't want anybody to get blamed for creating Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's going to be really interesting, but for sure, tune into the documentary tomorrow. I mean, it's going to be interesting regardless, but I think just being there within the first hour of whatever token it's going to launch, like right now would be the perfect environment to catch a play like that. If you listen to Wake and Jake this morning, you heard Jake say himself, really good time to be watching. The shit coins are really hot. We do have a shitcoin office hour actually coming up on Wednesday, so we'll be talking a little bit more about that, and I'm sure we'll be talking about whatever comes out of this documentary. But I mean, you saw when there was like the presidential meme tokens like Bowden and Trump, those went crazy. So I'm really would be shocked if whatever this meme coin is, someone's going to find a cutesy pun on whoever they're pinning as Satoshi, and that thing would probably get at least 10 mil, at least just in a not financial advice estimate there.
I mean, just to put it out there, it's a tough game if you're like on like a pump.fun, and there's like a million coins getting launched. You don't know which one is going to be the one. So just be careful out there when you're, trying to watch it in real time and trying to pick a winner at, under 100K market cap or even under 60K. Just know that you're generally going to lose, and just be mindful that you are gambling. But you can't hit 100x. Like you could even hit 1,000x. So there's that too.
Yeah, great call there, Waf.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of pump fund launches. I mean, I just never had the stomach for it, so I'm probably just waiting until they reach full funding and then get launched. But for sure, whichever token reaches a million first, that's named in the doc, I'll probably be aping into that a little bit.
Yeah. So, has there anything else that been catching your attention this week? I did notice, like, even though on ordinals, like we've been essentially flat, there's been one collection out there that's kind of made a move, and it's one of the OG collections. It's Bitcoin Frogs. It's up like 31% over the week, and it's up to 0.055.
Dude,
Um,
I know. It's
I think this
awesome.
one got room to run. Like if you recall last year, end of last year in like November, December, Bitcoin frogs hit half a Bitcoin. I mean, that's like basically a 10x, 9x from here. Um, Not impossible to do that again, in my opinion. So I'd be like kind of keeping an eye out on Bitcoin frogs. It's got nice volume. It's made a nice move, and ordinals are like that thing, like where the more expensive they get, the more attractive they become, right? So you might not like Bitcoin frogs at 0.03, but you like it at 0.055. And if you don't like it at 0.055, you might like it better at point 0.1. So it's one of those things I feel like so just keep an eye on Bitcoin frogs. It's got all the OG narratives already.
Yeah, I completely agree there. I think Bitcoin Frogs just being an OG collection and one that like definitely fighted for that spot alongside Node Monkeys and the Honey Badgers. I also just really like the artwork for Bitcoin Frogs. Like I think it just is very simple, very in line with what's popular on Bitcoin, and Frogs is pretty popular in crypto as a whole. So really great shout out there, Waf. And I did want to talk to you. The other collection is definitely Bitcoin Puppets. Like, what the hell is going on with Pup's World Peace volume? Did you just see that insane volume on Pup, the token, this past weekend?
Oh, I mean, I seen the BRC pops is up to like $17, and then obviously that directly, because you had the migration going on, right? Where you have to migrate your BRC 20s by a certain date, your pups to Pups World Peace, and like the volume on Pups World Peace has been like unbelievable, and the floor was always thin, and it was bound to rocket. I always mess around with Magic Eden, where I just kind of like pretend like I'm gonna sweep the entire floor, and you know, $40,000 moves this thing like 30%. So I knew this thing was gonna rip. It ripped faster than I thought. It's still, I want to say, like a 2x away from its all-time high. So still plenty of room to run here on Pups World Peace.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And I mean, I love the play of if you were just paying attention to Pups World Peace, once that ran, Bitcoin puppets went up like zero point zero 0.03 Bitcoin. We've mentioned it before, but I mean, it's just such a good opportunity for an NFT or ordinal that you're able to farm and multiply your Bitcoin from. It does require some conviction because you are in a situation where you're risking technically more than you're standing to gain, right? Because there are limit orders that you can have, but we're talking about like you're buying something at zero point 0.1 Bitcoin in anticipation of selling it at, let's say, 0.13. That's kind of been the range that I consistently see. It's like test zero point 0.1 goes up to 0.13, rinse and repeat. So it's not the comfiest of plays to say, okay, I'm going to buy something for zero point 0.1 and then sell it for a 30% gain. But if you look at pups, like even when things just went like to the shit, right? And Bitcoin tested 50K very briefly about a month or two ago, pups was only at zero point zero 0.06. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think it's pretty decent risk reward. I think that floor is going to hold pretty nicely here until we break down lower. You know, I'm not saying hold it forever, but if we do get that retest, if Bitcoin sells off a little bit during the week, or if people brick a couple pups, that is definitely what I'm looking for a nice little flip. I think that flip is just continues to pan out over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that flip is always there too, because we were looking at the Bitcoin puppets chart last week, and it looked like it has support at the point one region. And I think last week when we did the show, it was closer to 0.11, if I'm not mistaken. So I was waiting for it to kind of go down to point one, and I felt like that was the support, and it should pop up to like 0.15 off that support. And then after 0.15, I think the next level of resistance was at around point 0.2. So there is a play here. I think at 0.13, it's kind of like a little bit in no man's land, right? Like because it could go back down to support again, or it could just go through 0.15 up to point 0.20. So I guess depending on what you think is going to happen, it could be a time to enter, or you could just wait for the for it to test its support line again. Um, and again, this is like anything. There's so many derivatives of puppets. So when puppets go up, anything kind of like associated with it is kind of going up too. So whether it's like the cat and those couple of airdrops they did, um, there's a few of these like puppet derivatives I can't even think of that have gone up. But like opium obviously goes up, but that's not really a derivative. That was like one of the main ones. Like last to get is another one. Um, there's a few of these things that seem to go up when it goes up. That wasn't there like another one like a BRC 420 they had as well, and then that name escapes me now too.
Yeah, it was like
Um,
CC0 or something, I think.
the CC
Um,
zero, that is one of them. You're right, CC zero.
and then
Um,
lay puppets, or there was like the lady puppets. Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
there's so
ton of
many.
derivatives,
There's a ton of
so
derivatives. I
many.
agree. Yeah,
But
and
I'm with
so
you.
you could play those too if you want. Like if you don't want to play the point 13 playground, you could play. You could play these other levels. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's looking good.
there's definitely a lot of entries to be had, but I do agree with you there. I think it's in no man's land, and I do regret, like, I was waiting for puppets to get to literal zero point 0.1 to buy, and I think the low was like 0.1047 since our last episode. So I wish I was just a little bit faster and saying, okay, I'm willing to risk. Ooh, nice voice crack there. Damn, still growing here. Uh, but yeah, I think waiting for like the pure point one might not be the best strategy. Just kind of seeing where you're comfortable and getting a range of entries. But I'm with you where this seems a little bit like no man's land. Like it seems like Puppet's chart tends to top out before it reaches 0.15. I think that it could definitely go a lot higher if the runes in Bitcoin continue to run. We've talked about this the past few weeks. It's just there is beauty in the chop where if the market's going to just continue to give you a range, just trade that range. So until we break that range with firm conviction, I'm just going to play the edges. And right now we're at the upper edge, so there isn't much for me to do other than sit there and wait on puppets. But I'm certainly a fan of the collection and stoked for some of our members who have picked them up since last week's episode. Hopefully, you guys are already in profit on that.
Yeah, so I was thinking of titanium Cheetos. That was like another one of those beta plays on puppets. But just to kind of like even just like close the loop on all these ecosystems, Bitcoin Wizards is another one. Now it's trading at point 0.1 BTC. That's also up 28%, and like that makes a lot of sense because Wizard is up a lot as well. Um, there's a lot of speculation about magic internet money. So I think you know, if we get that migration of Wizard to magic internet money, I can also see Bitcoin Wizards go up in price. And this one back in April, I think it hit a high of like point 0.3. So that's like, so it's got a 3x in it potentially back to its all-time high. That could be another play. I mean, it's already up 28% this week. So um you might want to wait. And then another collection is Aeons, which is, I seen a few KOL shill Aeons, and it's also up 58% this week. So that's like another one that I always like the art. Maybe that one has a little bit of sticking power. We'll see. Um, and then I think the other ones you can't go wrong with now is just to play off of the RSIC. Um,
Oh, you still there, Rob? You cut out after RSIC.
can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, there we go. It might have been me. I'm not sure.
I think it was me. I'm having a little issue here. Sorry about that.
All good. You were saying after RSIC.
Oh, I was saying like Arctic Meta Protocol, the Ordinal. Like if what I think the rune is gonna move up, then it makes sense that the Ordinal is gonna go up in price too. So at 0.0083 right now, I think that's a play, and that could easily make a 50% move, like nothing. So that's a play too.
I love it. And I want to go back to Wizard real quick because, I've talked about Wizard so many times on the show, but I really think it has the potential to just be one of the largest memes we've ever seen in crypto because it's just such an OG. And in crypto, as we know, like the timeline of events has a pretty big importance. Think about node monkeys and honey badgers and just that whole argument of who was inscribed first. The things that Magic Internet Money has going for it is that it was a really big onboarder for people in Bitcoin all the way back in like 2011, 2012. The slogan of Magic Internet Money has been thrown around a lot, so that's well touted. It is a rune that's actually on chain, and the person who created the meme Magic Internet Money is MavenSpot, and he has successfully claimed the rune. So we're just waiting for him to start the migration. If you've been over to the Wizard Discord, it is just a wasteland, but in the most fun sense. They own that. They call it Asylum Forever. So it's just really like a bunch of people talking crazy and having fun in there. A lot of shit talking on MavenSpot, but whenever the migration does happen, I think there's a really good potential for Wizard to absolutely rip. And just the comparison that you said there, Waf, that the all-time high for the ordinal of Wizard is point 0.3. And I believe the all-time high for Wizard is right around $9. And it's about 50% of that right now. So if you're looking at a 50% comp off the token and the, ordinal itself is down 66%, seems like there might be a nice little lagging play there on the ordinal collection. Definitely we'll see. Wizard really heated up over the past week. It's up about, I would say, 150 to 200%. So we might get a little bit of a pullback there, but Wizard continues to set new highs. And if Maven does actually come back, I know November 5th is a date that's speculated he's going to come back and do the migration. I personally don't think he's going to in that time frame, but whenever it happens, if Wizard pumps, I would certainly be looking at that ordinal collection. So great shout there.
Yeah, I want to say the Wizard BRC. I think it might have hit like $13 at one point. It might only been like for a day or two, but again, like so you see like that comparison between the token and the ordinal. Like they should probably like get the same amount of gains, right? Like they should probably both 3x to get back to their all time highs, and then once they clear their all time highs, maybe they're going to go on to some other level, right? First before they come back down. So the play is to kind of get in before their all time highs because we should, probably fight resistance at that point. But then after that, once it breaks through, like the sky is the ceiling, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, right now, so there's a 21 million supply on Wizard. Wizard is trading at about $4.30 right now. So we're talking about 100 million market cap because the Wizard token that you see is 95% of the Magic Internet money. And then the additional 5% of the supply gets airdropped to holders of that ordinal. So we're talking about around 100 million total, if not a little bit less. for all of the assets right now of what is going to be Magic Internet Money, as long as it's not like a rug on the ordinal being distributed, or the rune being distributed. But I don't think there's any reason it would just never come. We do know that MavenBot has the rune, he has the supply. They haven't figured out how the migration is going to work yet, but I've heard lots of rumors of like, oh, Maven, fucked up the etching. There's not able to actually distribute it. Like, none of that is true. Like, you can look it up. It's all open source. It's available to be distributed. So I think at some point we get Magic Internet Money, and once we do actually see that rune come out and be solidified, I don't really see a scenario where it doesn't reach at least a $200 to $500 million market cap. It's just such a prolific meme in the space. My personal target is $1 billion on it, but time will tell. So I'm certainly bullish with it only being at 100 million market cap right now.
Yeah, agreed. One last thing on the ordinal. So like we mentioned that when it's zero point 0.3 is its all-time high. It's a low collection, like as far as you know, supply. And if you take a look at the floor, it's at zero point 0.1, but you get to like 14 sales, you're at 0.2. You get to 21 sales, you're at 0.3. So you don't want to like chase this one. If you want to get in, I would suggest trying to get in now, sneak one in, because later on you're going to be paying zero point 0.3 or higher, and then that's usually when people start FOMOing in and they start paying like any price, and it's gonna run. So zero point 0.1 now is like, probably if you got that extra Bitcoin, you want to just hold on to it and put it away, stash it as like sort of like another play on your wizard holdings. I don't think it's the worst move in the world.
Definitely not. And I mean, it's crazy. Like, we talked about it. Ordinals and runes are built pretty differently, where they are just consistently moving like 40, 50% a day. And I will say, this is a great time to practice the strategy of selling when you get a 50%, or to cover like half of your cost basis. So if you're in a token and it goes up 100% or 50%, like, sell a little bit of what you just bought. And then if it goes higher, like, hold on to a little bit. But I would definitely recommend trying to cover some of your cost basis when you can, particularly if you're dealing with runes, now that the Magic Eden interface allows you to split them so easily, because we still are in this chop range until further noted, right? Like, we talk about the different ranges that are out there. We know that Bitcoin hasn't reclaimed that all-time high in a couple months now. So I definitely think it's possible. I think all signs are pointing to us bulling up and probably getting ready to smash through and do another leg higher. But if we continue to stay in this range, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to continue to just rinse and repeat. So try to get a little bit of liquidity where you can, and just, scale to the bag when things drop down. If you have conviction, scale out a little bit on the way out. But I think it just makes sense to be trading these things, taking profit when you can. Like, that's what's just going to make you feel super confident as a trader. Because then even if price goes up and then falls back down, like, hey, you already made your money. Now you can go back and make a little bit more. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really sound advice. Like, you want to be selling into the volume instead of chasing the volume, right? Like, so as like the market shows strength, you're kind of like scaling out, or even a little bit, and that way you stay liquid for the next play, right? And just kind of going back to that volume trend, like, we still are nowhere near the volume that we've seen before, but if you're able to like profit on trades during like these lower volume times, as we get into the more volume, you're just gonna like kind of create your own bankroll by making these trades, and then you'll have a position to hold when like when it really moons, and it's not gonna really matter that you sold some anyway.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was definitely, preaching on BossDawgs for a while. Buy Wizard if it goes below $5, and just continue to average in. And it definitely got to a point where Wizard reached like $1.10. I want to say a month and a half ago, and I was just looking at my bankroll and was like, "Damn, am I really going to be buying more Wizard here?" Continue to do it, and I mean, it finally paid off where we bounced back, and now we're reaching above my cost average. And I can start to sell out. And part of me was just like, no, I can't sell. Like, I held for so long. Why would I sell once I'm starting to get into the profit? Like, I should go for a moon bag. But I think you definitely always want to be like scaling in and out. That's just what's going to allow you to have clarity, allow you to like have a plan. And that way, take a little bit, your bag will continue to go up as long as you have some exposure. But I think it just makes for better trades as a whole. So definitely wanted to just re-emphasize that, trade however you want at the end of the day. But I definitely think having a replicable process is going to be one of the keys to success for navigating this upcoming bull run.
Yeah, completely agree with those sentiments there. Liquidity is always king, even in a bull market, and it'll allow you to play that next move that you might not even know exists, but when it presents itself, like you'll be ready for it. So yeah, that's definitely good advice there.
Appreciate it. Well, speaking of next moves, let's get into the weekly roundup of projects to come. As always, got a big shout out for Mr. JD himself, dude. JD, huge fan of yours. Appreciate you always just hooking us up with the alpha of the drops to be coming out. Looks like we got a lot of stuff going on in Fractal World this week. So let me take a second here, Wap, just copy and paste what JD's got in voice hangout chat. Then we can go through the release roundup and
Yeah.
see if there's anything that stands out to you.
Sure. Before you start, I just want to say that today runes went live on Fractal. If anyone's interested in that, they're live there now. So you can mint or etch runes on Fractal Bitcoin starting from today.
Alrighty, and we have dropped the upcoming collections this week. Thank you again, JD, man. Always appreciate it. And nice Nat Cat. Drop that in voice hangout chat. We got Crypto Pups. Uh, sorry, that's the Twitter account. We got Fractal Node Monkeys, I believe, are coming out. We got a couple of fun art pieces. We have Taproot Puppets that are coming out. And then a few other mints here. To me, WAP, the one that does stand out, I think, is Taproot Puppets. It is a derivative, which I'm not a big fan of, but we've talked about like when the market gets hot, that's kind of the time to mint some of this silly stuff. Taproot Witches did super well. I personally think the artwork for Taproot Puppets, I think seems a little bit more fun. So I think it's going to be the perfect storm of a single day flip. I'd imagine that some of the rarer traits like hoodies and whatnot will sell for a small premium above floor. I really don't imagine this collection going too much higher than 0.01 if it even does reach that. But I do think that if you're able to get those off mint, for sure, one to mint. If you're able to find a price dip or just get them cheap right off the bat, it should be a quick little flip for you there. That's it. I wouldn't do too much long holding those, but it is one that I'm looking at on my calendar.
Yeah, so we didn't discuss this earlier, but my feelings are exactly the same as yours. I think that's really the only mint that I'm semi interested in. I think I do have one guaranteed mint on this, but I'll look to probably add early on and then flip for later. These derivatives sometimes they run, you never know, and it's almost like a litmus test for the market. Like, are we really in a bull market? If we're really in a bull market, then these derivatives will surprise to the upside, right? So, um, will I wind up flipping this and then seeing it going higher? You know what? I kind of hope so. That's what I'll say about puppets there.
I really like it, Lap. I mean, I have the exact same thought. And then, I do think there's something there where they're saying pups mint info on the VC link there. It's funny that they're called pups or crypto pups because they look exactly like, oh, I see. It's supposed to look like puppets mixed with node monkeys, sort of in the art style. It is pretty fun, but at the end of the day, it is a derivative and it is on Fractal, which we talked a lot about last episode. I just don't think the adoption for Fractal is really there. I think there might be adoption for Fractal at some point, but I would more so be looking at original collections, and I would also only be looking at Fractal in a situation where ordinals are just spending, right? Like if we got node monkeys to reclaim zero point 0.5, if we got puppets above zero point 0.3 again, if everyone that wanted Bitcoin ordinals was priced out of the collections, yes, I could see people migrating to fractals and playing it at like a cheaper price point. But because we already have tons of cheap price points at ordinals, I don't really see a ton of reason that people are going to be buying these fractal mints. So for me personally, I'm not super inclined to go for those projects.
Yeah, I think I'd be more interested in a fractal mint if it was something original, but any derivative off of mainnet is not really that appealing, even if it's two, call it, derivatives mixed together. Like it's just not really that appealing. And that's really the only mint I'm looking forward to this week is puppet, the taproot puppets. But there is one mint that's coming out next week on the 17th, and I know I'm probably jumping ahead, but also I am traveling next week, so you know what? We got to talk about that. We might not have a show next week, but I think this is one that is worthwhile to try and get a whitelist for. It's for Mintify, so I just dropped the X link on VC chat. I think this one has like really good potential. They got a lot of followers, and I'm pretty bullish on this mint here, Mintify.
Ooh, appreciate that, Waf, and appreciate the heads up. We'll definitely be in touch about scheduling for next week. Um, yeah, do you have like a overview of what Mintify does? This looks more of like a platform. Are they just offering a pass to use their site?
Yeah, pretty much. And they have like order books, and they're supposed to be doing stuff with like real world assets. So they seem to be kind of like like a company that does like a lot of things. So I guess we'll see how that works ultimately at the end. But they are a very large company, and I'm definitely interested in this mint here.
Okay, right on, dude. Appreciate it. I'm definitely going to look into that more, but definitely like passes in general. I feel like passes are usually a pretty solid play. I did want to shout out one additional Ordinal project that we haven't talked about yet is the Ordzar passes. They announced earlier today that they're going to be doing an airdrop of their ZAR token to holders of the pass. I'm not sure how popular that is going to be, but the passes themselves went a little bit above zero point zero 0.01. So not the worst price point in the world, pretty small supply, not a lot listed. Usually passes are pretty good for riding like volatility on them. I know that a while ago there was some like bit floppy disk, if you remember those. Those were a really good one to play for volatility. So definitely just one to keep on the radar. As always, just follow the activity charts and see what the highs and lows are. But if you're looking for a lower price point for something to maybe flip over the coming days, I think the Ordzar Pass is one that I'm going to be looking at, and there might be a couple plays there.
That Ordzar mint, I remember that mint. It was almost impossible to mint my whitelist, and I never got one. And after that, they faded it. But Ordzars is actually, pretty up there in the community. I want to say their founder's pretty active. I do like them, so I think ultimately that ZAR token should do pretty well too. So it's probably worth getting a pass if you want to get in on their token.
Yeah, definitely one to look at. And there's under 100 of them listed, so I think there's a decent chance that there's going to be a supply squeeze at some point. NFA, but it's pretty low price. This is the time when like buying these small things for big swings at the upside, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else on your radar for this week? What are you going to be monitoring? After the show tomorrow and the next day. What are you looking forward to? I want to say that we haven't spoke about.
Well, final thing we haven't spoken about, me, WAP. I always like to end the episode going short on something just because I have really enjoyed letting the market come to me, give me opportunities. And I'm going to double down on the table on fractal Bitcoin short. Like we mentioned, just a couple of minutes ago, I don't really see the use case for it right now. Even with such a bullish week, sats are still at 8, right? It's like 8 to 10. So I don't really see the use to have a sidechain network. As you mentioned, there's thousands upon thousands of fractal Bitcoin that are mined every single day. And I think the people who are mining that are smart enough to know that they're going to be selling most of it. And in terms of ranges, it ranges between like $7 to $8 in a single day, which is decently substantial, right? Like it's over 10%, which is really nice. So I've been on CoinEx just absolutely trading the crap out of fractal Bitcoin shorts. I try to close them when they're below $7. So around like 650 or so, when we started to get some volume back on runes, I fully closed the position. And then yesterday it rebounded to, I think, $9 at its high. I was out for that, but then I came back in, shorted it at 850, and it went back down to like 740. So there's going to be nice dollar fluctuations on fractal Bitcoin. I don't really see a ton of likelihood of it reclaiming its all-time high at 30. For me, that's really great because I can just set my liquidation price at the all-time high. So I'm really not too worried about that and getting liquidated, but I'm just continuing to scale in and out of fractal Bitcoin. It is a money multiplier. Like the same way that you would trade puppets, just fading the edges, it's the exact same thing I'm doing with fractal Bitcoin. we have a supply that is inflating, and we have miners that are looking to dump. So in my mind, it's a no-brainer short. And what I love about this play is that because runes are pumping, fractal Bitcoin price is going to have some pops along the way. So would totally love to get you in there, WAF, if you haven't yet. But I think fractal Bitcoin shorts and just playing that rinse and repeat one is going to be a nice one for the next couple of weeks.
I love that call. I mean, you have been absolutely murdering that short right there. I want to say, just makes a lot of sense. Like it's a very sound theory that there's gonna always be this downward price pressure on the token. At the same time, we're in a bull market, so like you said, you're gonna have that pop. You're gonna have a continuous opportunities to short it. It just makes a lot of sense. And that price fluctuations. I mean, you're talking between 10 and 20%. And if you're doing that with a little bit of leverage, I mean, that's a nice scalp there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was planning on making a short video later in the week on how to do it, just because I think CoinX has one of the more complicated user interfaces that I've used for trading perps. So I'll probably put together a little video guide. Be on the lookout for that later in the week. Nothing crazy, but I'm just going to show you a quick screen capture of here's how you loan it, here's how you pay it back. But yeah, I definitely think that's a really solid one. It's great because you're able to like pick whatever your risk is, right? Like even with the Magic Eden user interface for runes, we're still not quite at that point yet where we can say, I want to buy $10 of this rune, or I want to buy $100 of this ordinal. So there's some things that don't fit super nicely with pricing, but that's what's my favorite part about trading with perp is that I can just very structured say, this is how much I want to invest, this is how much I want to risk, this is where I want to put my liquidation price, or like what I'm comfortable with it getting to. And you can control all aspects of that. So it works for any bankroll, but yeah, exactly. With 20% fluctuations pretty much every day, it's a really good one to ride.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So I know we're like coming up towards the end of the show. We always do our our predictions, right? Our Bitcoin price predictions. Um, I think we've been off, right? Because we've been very bullish, and the price has not been moving. So what do you got for next week, Ross? What's your price prediction for Bitcoin next week? And then I want to throw a little wrinkle in this because we did this on our DFS chat on Friday, where we like selected our flag plant, which is sort of like the guy that we thought was going to do really well for the week, and then we came up with our call it our less than 1% chance guy that we thought was going to do really well. So sort of like our long shot wild card guy. So I want you to give me your Bitcoin price prediction, and then I want you to give me a secondary prediction that you think is going to happen.
Okay. I think Bitcoin will be at $65,000 next Monday.
Okay.
And maybe we'll have BossDawgs. If not, next time I see you, I think 67 if it's in 2 weeks from now. But I think 65 next Monday. My flag plant, let's see. I think we'll see fractal Bitcoin below $7 next episode. So sub
Okay.
six. And my upside flag plant is I think we will see Wizard above $6 next episode.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. That's great. I didn't know you're gonna give me two. You gave me a under and over. That's fantastic. All right, so I'm gonna give you my Bitcoin price prediction. So if we do the show, and maybe it won't be on a Monday, maybe we could do it Tuesday. We'll talk about that later. Um, I'm gonna go 66K right for next Monday, and then if it's in 2 weeks, that gets us to like the 21st. I'm gonna go 70. I'm gonna go 70K if it's the 21st, and then I'm gonna go. RSIC is gonna be up 25% next week. I think RSIC
I
is
like that.
I think R6's gonna make a move. It needs to catch up, and if we meet in 2 weeks, I think we're talking about a 50% gain in 2 weeks. So that's my long shot call is RSIC up 50% in 2 weeks or up 25% in 1 week.
I love it, dude. I think I'm probably going to get a little RSIC bag going again here. So I definitely agree. I think we might even see RSIC up 50% by end of week, just given the, the pacing on all these other tokens around us. But As always, man, been a pleasure. And shout out to some of the familiar faces we haven't seen here in a while. Mr. Bull, big shout out, bro. Happy to see you back in these ordinal streets, and just looking forward to making some nice profit with everybody in the MVHQ fam. I mean, it's just great to see runes and ordinals a little bit more active. So I hope we're all staying busy in the threads, enjoying the time, and hope everyone's trading safe and making some good gains out there.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate people like sticking with us. Like I don't know how many shows we've done by now, Ross, but we're probably like in the 20s or 30s at this point. I want to say, right? We started this, I want to say, probably back in February or something, right? So we've been doing this for a good minute here. Mr. Bull, I feel like could be MVP every month. By the way, he's just like the literal goat of all things Bitcoin related or just crypto in general. Um, so let's get the banana zone going. Like it's time, man. We've been waiting. We've been waiting a long time. I think it's time to hit this zone. It's time to hit that parabola and make some money here.
Let's do it, dude. We'll be going bananas next time. Until then, let's split, and I'll see you next week.
Talk to you later.